I'd like to call the Maumelle City Council meeting to order. First, I want to welcome everybody here and wish you a happy new year, and hope that everybody's staying warm during this extremely cold weather that we're experiencing. But our first item tonight will be the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and I've asked Clerk Clausen to lead us in those. So if you'd please rise.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to meet here and to discuss the needs of this great city that we live in. We're grateful for the people who serve in this community, who work so hard to make it the place that it is. We pray that as we start this new year, that we'll be guided by Thee, that we'll have Thy Spirit to be with us, that we'll know the things to say and do in order to progress this community. And we pray that we'll be able to work together for the good of the city. We pray for all those who are out in the cold this evening, that they may be watched over and protected, and invite Thee to guide us, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good call, Mayor.
That surprised me.
Yeah, it did me too. I turned around and was like, whoa, that's not right.
That's not going to work. Janitorial crew must have put it back together wrong.
The cleanup people didn't know, I guess.
Well, we actually had a little bit of water damage in that corner, so I actually don't know who. It's been replaced and fixed, but I don't know who put the flags back, but they weren't put back appropriate. Yeah, so we needed to get that fixed. Next item is special guests and announcements, and we have none here other than everybody that's in the audience. And next item is approval of the minutes from the December 16th regular meeting. All the council members have a copy of those minutes in their packets. Are there any corrections or additions to those?
I move we approve them. Second.
It's been motioned second that the council approve the minutes of the December 16th meeting. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is public comment, and I have several comment cards tonight, but I only have one that is on a non-agenda item, and so at this time we will hear from Mr. Scott Llewellyn. And if you would, come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Scott Llewellyn. My address is 33300 Canis Road in Perrin, Arkansas. I perform site acquisition services for national wireless communication carriers such as AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. And site acquisition means that I basically go and find the sites for them to put new towers. I'm working a project for AT&T right now where they're needing to add one more tower into Maumelle to cover some coverage degradation issues that we're having. And where they're wanting to put the tower, and that area is mostly residential, it's going to be kind of a tough fit to find a good tower site. You know, if at all possible, I always try to avoid residential areas. But I'm trying to make a good presentation to my client of what possibilities there are for them to pursue. I did notice looking at some parcel maps, there's a lot of open space zones throughout this area, the green strips that run between residential parcels. Met with Planning Director Jim Narney about this. He may have mentioned it to the mayor as well. And he wanted me to come before the council and just ask the council who the city I should talk with about the possibility of having a tower in one of the open space zones with the city as the landlord.
Well, I mean, I guess you're going to need to meet with me on that matter. And I actually had a conversation with Mr. Gill.
Yes.
But I was not aware that you'd visited with Mr. Neri. So this is the first I've heard about it from that side of
Right.
it. So.
We met with them, kind of gave them an overview of the coverage issues that are present right now in Maumelle.
Right.
And he was hesitant to actually, proceed with this, wanted us to talk to the city council and see who the city recommended that we actually sit down with and talk on a formal basis.
Okay. It's going to have to be me, and then it's going to have to come back to the city council,
Yes,
because if it's the land that Mr. Gill and I discussed, it's city-owned property. The council is going to have to make the decision whether they're willing to sell the land first. And so it was my understanding after talking to Mr. Gill kind of a site plan was going to be put together so that we can present it to the council and let them look at it.
We're a long ways off from that. Right,
Okay.
right now, there's not a locked-in position exactly where they have to have the tower. It's just a general area where they're having a coverage void. So before we got into a detailed stage with this, with construction drawings, site plans, just wanted to make sure that we were going to be talking with the appropriate person.
I mean, there's not going to be a person that will make you're looking at the 8 people that will make the ultimate decision on whether or
Right.
not they will. But generally speaking, in order to get it on the agenda for an appropriate consideration by the council, you'll have to go through the mayor's office.
Okay, super.
Okay, so I'm at City Hall,
Okay.
so I'm here most days, so just, yeah.
That was pretty much my understanding of the meeting with Mr. Neri, but my client told me to show up tonight, so here I am.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Y'all have a
coming.
good
Okay,
night.
all right.
I'm doing what I'm told.
Okay, like I said, all the other comment cards that I have are on an item that's already on the agenda, so we'll hold those until that time. Next item is a financial statement review, and that will be done at the second meeting of the month. Next item is a procedural motion. I need a motion from the floor that we read all resolutions and ordinances by title only.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we read all resolutions and ordinances by title only tonight. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. First item under unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance number 829 regarding golf cart operation. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle County and Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 829, an ordinance of the City of Maumelle, Arkansas, amending the Maumelle City Code regarding operation of golf carts on city streets and for other purposes.
Okay, this is the item that I do have all the comment cards that I have on. So at this time, we will hear from the public on that item, and then we'll let the council discuss it. The first one I have is from Mr. Leonard Unruh.
Leonard Unruh, 68 Blue Mountain Drive. I've spoken to one of my council members, expressed my negativity, and I still want to reinforce to the rest of you. At this point in time, I think it's a bad idea because if you pass it, you're going to split the city. Because those who live in like Country Club of Arkansas will not be able to use their golf carts to get to Kroger's. And there's some other vice versas like National Bank of Arkansas, I think, or Regions Bank. The ones on this side can't get to it. So at this point, I just don't think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Unruh. Next card I have is from Mr. Gibb Carpenter.
Gibb Carpenter, 123 Osage Drive, Maumelle. I bet you guys hope this is the last time we talk about this as much as I do. The first thing I'd like to maybe continue about the insurance thing. I debated whether I thought that was necessary when y'all put the amendment in, and then I told you about the research. There's my little insurance card, and it's on my 2002 electric golf cart. When you get the paperwork for your automobile policy, I think y'all are all familiar with declaration pages and so forth, there's an additional literature relative to a motorcycle / recreational vehicle endorsement, okay? Meaning they've endorsed the fact that this is a recreational vehicle, and it changes the definition of auto. So a golf cart, by the definition with this endorsement, is an auto. That's all real good. But then there's a gotcha. And that gotcha comes with the additional exclusions, and probably the most significant of those additional exclusions has to do with unlawful use. And basically, unlawful use is the use of the vehicle that does not comply with every law and regulation that governs its use. So we're back to maybe where we got on, is that it's legal for us to drive our golf carts to and from the golf course in the daytime, but not to drive home after dark and not to visit our neighbors. Now, I'll discuss, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, Mr. Unruh's comment in a minute, but essentially what this says is that even with the insurance, if my wife and I stay and play in couples golf, which we do, and as do dozens of people that live in our vicinity, and we stay for dinner and we drive home at night, we're breaking the law. And I appreciate the fact that there's some on the council that say, well, as long as the police are looking the other way and let you do it, no harm, no foul. But this says that even though I'm insured, if an uninsured motorist hits me, then I can't rely on my insurance because it's unlawful. Now, y'all have the opportunity to correct that situation. Okay? If I do damage to someone else, I'll try to be careful, but if I do, then they don't have the benefit of my insurance for any financial restitution because it was an unlawful use. So there are other considerations besides the police looking the other way. With regard to this split city, we're split in a lot of. You can't ride your bicycle back and forth. This is not, as I said before, about driving to Kroger. It doesn't mean somebody won't do it, and it doesn't mean you can't do it safely. But that is not. You're not going to suddenly, with the passage of this ordinance or this amendment, seeing vehicles out there driving to commercial establishments. It is really, I would hope, to codify the status quo of us driving locally within our neighborhoods and driving home from the golf course after dark. And the whole split city, I mean, it's already split in that regard. People on the Country Club of Arkansas side can drive to their ball fields, and they can do things we can't do on this side of the boulevard, and that's the way it is. And until we get our pedestrian overpass in, Mr. Mayor,
Or under.
our underpass, that'll the way it's say. I'd like to thank again Alderman Johnson for introducing something I think solves a problem that we have, and I hope you guys will all vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Next public comment card I have is from Mr. Doug Ladner.
A little different on this side. I'm Doug Ladner, 174 Lilly, and I'm here tonight to speak against proposed ordinance number 829. I've been reading comments from the council and from the proponent, or one proponent at least, of the ordinance. And how many of us knowingly break the law? The gentleman just mentioned that police usually look the other way with golf carts, knowingly break the law. Police use their discretion. That's what they use. How many of you have driven down city streets at the posted speed limit? We're given a leeway. If this ordinance goes through, that leeway should be taken away from us because we're again endangering people who are driving in slower vehicles. I would like to know what's wrong with our current ordinance. We just mentioned about insurance. Well, that's the people who own the cart's problem or concern. Continue to let police use their discretion in enforcing the law. If not, there must be a zero tolerance in the enforcement of our speed limits. Faster speeds will place the occupants of those slow-moving vehicles in greater danger. I've heard the comments that I'm going to vote for this ordinance because I want to have a golf cart so I can ride around my neighborhood. Well, that's good. But what about the other constituents, your constituents? What do they think? I've read the comment about golf carts are a Maumelle tradition. So what? What are traditions? Golf courses have golf carts. That's business. What is the tradition about? Tradition is a transmittal of elements or culture or mode of thoughts or behavior or customs from one generation to the other. And I don't think that quite fits in this situation. I've heard allow children on mopeds, so what's wrong with allowing them on golf carts? A moped is an issue of the state legislature. But even so, Maumelle has worked to get the age limit changed. We tried to get it up to 16-year-olds. That didn't work, but at least it was raised. The city is concerned with this issue and have taken steps to support the health and safety of the residents. If the proposed ordinance is passed by the city council, not by the state, will it be responsible for the unintended consequences? Have you done your due diligence? Are you ready for that responsibility? I have a few questions. When reviewing this proposed ordinance, I read that many residents have own golf carts. Now, how many? Maumelle Country Club has approximately less than, from what I've heard, 300 members. Not all of those have own golf carts. Country Club of Arkansas has fewer than 30 members that own golf carts. That's approximately 300 golf carts in Maumelle with a population of 17,000. And it's stated in the ordinance that those people who own those golf carts live around the 2 golf courses. There's no mention of having to register or license a golf cart, no turn signals, seat belts, or horn required, no emblem or placard to indicate slow-moving vehicle required, can operate day or night. Even Myrtle Beach limits their use to daylight hours only, and that's section 56-2-105. Have you read the manufacturer's warning label affixed to golf carts? The manufacturer's warning label affixed to golf carts? I have. They're easy to turn over if you abuse them. You keep your legs and bodies inside at all times. Danger when crossing public streets and others. It concerns me that the proposed ordinance does not define what a golf cart is. Someone says a golf cart's a golf cart. Well, according to the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, a golf cart is not a golf cart. A golf cart fits into several different categories. So is it a conventional golf cart, which has an A and a B? It's a golf cart for personal golf use. A fleet golf cart is basically purchased by the golf course. The personal golf cart means a golf used to carry one or more people and may carry golf equipment. Okay. And is sold for the individual purpose and may use to travel on public roads to and from golf courses and play golf, etc. But there are others. Speed-modified golf carts. We're going to have golf carts that have been souped up. I've seen a few. And they go from 20 to 25 to 30 miles an hour and they can go even faster. Those traveling on public roads, again, makes it even more dangerous. They're less stable and they're more dangerous. Neighborhood electric vehicles, and that's what I think I just heard the gentleman mentioned about just around the neighborhood. Means four-wheel electric vehicle whose top speed is not greater than 25 miles per hour. Some of these vehicles look much like passenger cars, are more than conventional golf carts, but they still don't have doors or anything. They look like a golf cart that's been spruced up. Low-speed vehicles means any vehicle, more four-wheel vehicle, whose top speed is greater than 20 miles per hour, but not as great as 25 miles per hour. This group includes neighborhood vehicles, electric vehicles, and slow modified golf carts. Top speed is greater than 20 miles per hour, but is not greater than 25 miles per hour. And I'm just wondering how you intend to regulate, if you want all of these different vehicles on your city street, is to regulate them. Wall Street Journal, September 2009, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's monitoring the growth and sales of the NEVs, which is neighborhood electric vehicles, and said right now it does not yet represent a crisis, a safety crisis, but that could change with more of them appearing on the public roads. This gentleman who owns an NAV in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica, California. People who drive NEVs know that they have to avoid fast-moving traffic and typically choose a routine based on light traffic and low speeds. The gentleman said, he was a 50-year-old advertising agency owner, he says only idiots would drive NEVs on high-speed roads. So we have to determine what we want out on our streets. If a golf cart, and if it's a conventional golf cart, which goes less than 19 miles per hour and has been traditionally used on golf courses, then you need to say so. It concerns me that does not define the golf carts. Earlier I mentioned the unintended consequences. If you pass this proposed ordinance as is, you will open the door to souped up golf carts, neighborhood electric vehicles, and slow-moving vehicles. Look further down the road, include ATVs and mules. I'm just really concerned. The purpose of this ordinance is not in the best interest of the health and safety of the residents of Maumelle, and I truly believe that you will be opening Pandora's box if you pass it. Thank you for the opportunity to address this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Ladner. Okay, the ordinance has been read. We need a motion if the council so chooses. Alderman Johnson?
Well, I'd like to make one point on the ordinance that I think needs to be corrected. I think it needs to say electric golf carts. Someone said something to me, and all of a sudden I realized I was talking. My old golf cart is a gas golf cart. Electric carts do a lot to improve the environment and everything like that. I run around in an old gas golf cart. So, in my opinion, if we're going to even consider the ordinance, which I am very much for, I think we should say at least electric golf carts. I don't know if that's a major change, but, I'd like to say, rather than just golf carts, electric golf carts, because it improves the environment.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough about golf carts to say whether that excludes a lot of them or not. But it would be my position that it is a substantial change if it does have the effect of excluding a significant number from the operation on the streets.
I'm the only one that's got one.
Well, I mean, I'm not qualified at all to say whether or not that's the case.
And this was also suggested by a member of the country club that we need to identify, because electric golf carts are more environmentally efficient and everything like that. You don't need people running around in gas golf carts and everything like that. And I just threw that out, and but hey, I'll leave it like it is. But I just was making a suggestion because a golf cart, hey, I'll be the only one around in a gas golf cart, but I won't drive, any place bad, I hope.
Thank you, Alderman Johnson. Alderman Ho?
I was just wondering if Alderman Johnson was looking for an excuse to buy a new electric golf cart.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Thank you, Alderman Norris. Sorry.
I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. I've got a lot of feedback from the residents, and I'm sure most of y'all have, and I've got both sides of it. And I was talking with someone who brought up a really good point, and they said that I'm not really in favor of the ordinance or opposed to it. I just think that if it's done, it has to be done in the safest way possible. First of all, on one hand, I think that if you look at it in the abstract, we have people coming before the local government asking if they can use a piece of transportation that they already own to go down the street to their neighbor's house. When you look at it like that, I think it sounds ridiculous. I own a motorcycle. I can't say I drive a motorcycle or ride it because I haven't in so long. But I think that an individual should be able to choose what mode of transportation they want, even if it's more dangerous. I don't think we've heard anything that says that it's going to pose much additional danger to people other than the driver or the passengers on the golf cart. So I lean toward it on that hand. But then on the other hand, I consider the idea that I think one of the most dangerous things is going to be the transition from a no golf cart Maumelle to golf carts around a blind curve when you had no idea that was even legal. And so I think that if we do go ahead with this, we need to make sure that there is some sort of education that whether it's a sign on the side of the road saying we're a golf cart community or something that just lets people know who aren't either from around here or who don't follow city council meetings. It would give them some way of knowing that, hey, around this next corner, there might be a golf cart. And I think that we have a duty to make sure that we do it in the safest way possible, if we do it. So I just threw that out there in case someone could make up my mind for me, because I'm torn.
I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, and I'm not opposed to the idea, but the concern is, where do you put it? I mean, how often do you place them? I mean, that sort of thing. So,
well,
you know,
I don't want to do this as the second reading, but one of the things that crossed my mind is this a prepared ordinance ready to go into effect? Is this a prepared system that we're ready to vote on now, as opposed to something that maybe needs to be a little more comprehensive and thought out? But that's just one of my thoughts.
okay. Well, the what I was going to point out is deer crossing signs aren't put up until you have accidents with deer. There have to be so many accidents occur before the state highway department will put up a deer crossing sign.
Yellow diamond
So,
sign with a
yeah.
golf cart on it.
Yeah. So,
I'd like to be proactive, not reactive.
Alderman Hogue.
One other thing I wanted to point out, we're all talking about the speed of the golf cart. I don't think that there is anywhere in Maumelle that the speed is going to be more than 35 miles an hour on our streets.
It's not correct.
Okay, and where is that?
Murphy Drive. It's 45.
Okay. Maybe we need to change that speed limit. But my point is, we're not driving 50 and 60 and 70 on our city streets anyway.
Not legally.
Well,
I hear we are, but yeah, I'm saying not legally.
then maybe we need to address that situation. That's all I had.
Alderman Mosley.
Yeah, I personally, I think this ordinance will pass or not pass, and I really don't see any change in golf cart usage. I think things are going to go on just the way they always have. Most people that own golf carts play golf. I don't think people are going to rush out and buy a golf cart after passing this thing. I think the people that currently drive down to their neighbor's house to watch TV on Sunday afternoon will continue to do that. They'll just do it in a legal fashion. We've basically kind of codified and said it's okay to do what we're already doing, and I don't see any major change. So, I mean, I'm going to vote for it. I think golf carts are. It's kind of a nice. It's the charm of Maumelle. It's one of the things I find charming about Maumelle is that, and I see no reason to keep doing it, and so I'll vote for the ordinance.
Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Alderman Johnson.
I move that we approve this ordinance.
829.
Ordinance 829.
I have a motion and a second on to approve ordinance number 829. Is there any discussion on that motion? Alderman Norris.
Really quickly, I just thought of another one of those examples other than roadway signs. Someone asked, well, who has the right-of-way? Does the golf cart have to own its lane like a car would, or they teach motorcycle drivers to do, riders, or are they supposed to try and hug the shoulder and, yield the right-of-way if a car is behind them? Are they obligated to drive in the right-hand lane on a street like Odom as opposed to the left-hand lane? And I think these are some of the things that we need to really think about before we just say go and then count the number of accidents and say, oh, by the way, we should have, done it this way or that way. We need something that the residents are going to have some sort of understanding of what the rights and obligations are. And their duty and how to drive. So I just think that's important. Thank you.
Alderman Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Norris has brought up some good points. As everybody knows, my stance until last meeting has been opposed to the golf cart usage. I did, as I told you several times, I think we are trying to fix something that's not broken. However, Mr. Gibb Carpenter came to the podium and changed my mind on that. That's why it pays to come to the podium. We do listen. And I have the same problem that Alderman Norris has, in that I am really torn because one side of me is concerned about the safety. I'm really concerned about the safety. We're putting golf carts out there to compete with 1 and 2 ton vehicles. Okay, I'm concerned about the younger people driving them. I have no problem with someone going down to their neighbor's house a block away. I don't mind that at all. Now, on the other side of the coin, I'm going to bring up what I brought up last meeting, and it's something we should consider. When we pass an ordinance, we are making a law. And we have an ordinance right now in effect and have had for a long time. It concerns me that the ordinance states very clearly when and how you can use a golf cart. But on the other hand, we're ignoring that ordinance and allowing people to do otherwise. I feel like that builds contempt for the law. I think if we have an ordinance, we need to follow it, okay? And that's not to take away from the policeman's right to make a decision. They still have to do that. But if we have an ordinance, we need to follow it, get rid of it, or modify it. Now, we're looking to modify it. I've already heard one really good comment, in my opinion, tonight, and that's from Alderman Johnson, about the electric golf carts. It has concerned me that some people can go out here and take a garden tractor and ride it down the streets and put a bag of golf clubs on the back of it and say, well, it's my golf cart. You know, I've had several people bring that up, that any type of vehicle, just about, they can turn into a golf cart. And how are you going to argue with that? Because we don't have a definition of golf carts. But I still have this problem with having an ordinance that we're not following. I also agree with Alderman Norris that I think this ordinance needs a little more work. I think we've overlooked some things here. And I think I'll just leave it at that. The way it stands right now, I think I would have to vote for the ordinance just because we have an ordinance on the books that we are not following, and we've got to stop that. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Saunders. Alderman Johnson?
Basically, in response to your comment there, we still got the same problem because, hey, it's a state law that they can drive, you know, on Odom and around and everything like that. In other words, the safety is still, you know, it's there if we don't do anything. They're driving golf carts down Odom or wherever they need to go to the thing. And don't get me wrong, I believe in safety and I support it and everything like that. But if we don't do anything, hopefully we've made some improvements because if nothing else, hopefully we'll have them have insurance on it a little bit if something happens and everything like that. But they can still drive down Odom. There's nothing that says they can't going to and from the golf course. So, in other words, there's still certain aspects of it that are still in place. It's a state law.
Well, let me clarify. The state law allows the city to allow that.
Right. Okay.
The city has
Yes.
allowed.
Yes.
So it's not. I don't want to give the impression that if the council were to repeal the section completely and say you can't operate golf carts, there's not a state law that would say
Okay.
you could. And that so ultimately it's the council's
Okay.
discretion.
Thank you, Alderman Johnson. Alderman Kelly?
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to point out again, you guys know my stance on this. It's a matter of public safety. I'm really concerned about the golf cart issue of being on the boulevard, or not the boulevard, but on the Odom. I have clocked the speeds of Odom, and I have done it at 35 miles an hour for over 2 months trying to figure out, and I have figured out I'm the slowest guy on that road. The bottom line is nobody's doing 35 miles an hour on that stretch of highway or stretch of street. And I'm worried about our constituents being out there on a golf course and getting tangled up because I tell you what, distracted driving is it's reality. People are on the cell phone, people are looking with the radio, they're talking, they're doing all kinds of things except paying attention. So I'm worried about the public safety aspect. I think the ordinance needs some work. I like the idea if we do go for it, that we go with an electric golf cart, but I think it should further be amended that it be used in a neighborhood area in the evenings. Use it in your personal neighborhoods. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I've got is what we're going to end up with is a dozen golf carts going to Kroger because it's fun to do in the middle of the summer, and somebody's going to get nailed on odor. And I've already cut one person out of a car up on that intersection, and I don't want to deal with it. Okay, and I'm just saying from a personal aspect, I think it's a matter of public safety. For that reason, I cannot support it the way it is.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Alderman Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we put electric cart into this ordinance.
I second that.
We have a motion to amend the ordinance to place electric cart in the ordinance, and a second on that. So the discussion now will resort to that amendment only. So if you've got any other comments, let's hold those. But if there's any discussion on that, Madam City Attorney?
I think I have to take the position that that would be a substantial change just because I don't know the statistics on how many that will allow, that will change the effect of the ordinance for. So it'll be my opinion that the amendment proposed will be a substantial change, will revert the ordinance to first reading.
Okay, thank you. And what I do want to point out is I guess it's going to be an issue that the officer is going to have to determine what's electric and what's golf, or what's gas or non-electric. What if it's solar? I mean, or something. I don't know, but I mean, so I'm, biofuel or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So I don't know. I mean, I think we're making it more complicated instead of making it easier. Alderman Lewis?
And that was part and parcel what I was going to say. This is sort of like an onion. The more you peel it back, the more it stinks.
Okay.
But I will add this perspective just to say is, having grown up as a golfer, it was probably my observation over the years in several golf cart communities that there was about a 15 to 20% number of golf carts, and that's just a casual observation. But I would dare say there's probably at least 10 gasoline golf carts within the city of Maumelle. Again, you're asking the police to now not only check for insurance, but they're also going to check to see what fuel this runs off of. We all know how I feel about this ordinance as it is, but just wanted to add that perspective that I agree with Madam City Attorney. There probably is a substantive change here because there probably are a collection of gasoline golf carts in the city. Thank you.
And I do want to point out, I think if you do change it to where it's electric only, you need to be able to allow constituents that have gas-powered golf carts to be able to come and speak to the council, or at least contact you individually. So, Alderman Norris?
I'm not sure, other than the environmental reasons, why we would change it to electric only. If one of the big complaints about golf carts is that they're going to be slower and driving at a different speed than electric, I just don't see the justification or why it's. I know electric sounds safer, but what are they safer? Is there anything?
They're more environmental, but
okay.
I withdraw my second.
Okay.
Let's get on.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right, I've still got lights on. Is that related to that?
Yes.
All right. All right. We have a motion and a second. I also had Mr. Gibb Carpenter wants to rebut something, I assume. So he keeps holding his hand up. So, Mr. Carpenter.
I would just like to remind the members of the council, this is not a huge paradigm shift. This is not a change in our status quo. You're amending an existing ordinance, not creating a new ordinance. Golf carts have been driving on. Somebody said a while ago that they're in the hundreds, and I can't dispute that. They probably are in the hundreds. The people that belong to Maumelle Country Club that live in South Shore and Edgewater regularly use Odom to come from their homes to the golf course, and there has never been an issue. Yeah, it's a 35 mile an hour byway. A golf cart will do 15 to 18 miles an hour. It's 2 lanes. There's not been any problems with seeing the vehicles and passing the vehicles. Certainly, they're much safer than someone legally riding a bicycle or a scooter on the same street. So this is not a sudden, as I said, paradigm shift that now there are going to be a whole bunch of golf carts out there. It's the same golf carts that are already and have been out there for years and years and years.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Alderman Norris.
I'm sorry, third time's a charm. I have a question for Madam City Attorney. Normally the ordinance goes into effect after 30 days, but I believe we can change that. Is that right?
You adopted an emergency clause?
Well, to extend it to a longer period of time, say 90 days.
City Council has adopted an ordinance that all ordinances will go into effect on the 31st day, so you'd have to amend that ordinance.
Okay.
That's a whole nother case.
The reason I asked that is I just think it might alleviate one of my fears if we had additional time to.
If you wanted
Look,
to amend the ordinance
yeah.
to put an effective date in there, that you could do that. Amend this ordinance to put an effective date in there.
Okay.
As a general
Yeah.
proposition, unless there is an emergency clause, they go into effect on the 31st.
Okay, but if we put in effective on 90 days from now, that would work.
Yes.
Do you think that would be a substantial change?
Again, you're talking about, when this is the third reading, and so substantial change, yeah, I do think it would be, because the those who want to speak for or against it are here with the expectation that it would be handled and or effective based on the current city code within 31 days. That's probably not as big of an issue as the electric versus gas, but I do think you run into the issue of the 30 days is really an appeal period.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that concerned about that being a substantive change.
And the reason I asked is I think that my biggest fear is that when the first person goes around the corner and they're not expecting a golf cart that would normally be on that road. So I'd like to make a motion that we make this effective 90 days after passing. I think that would give us additional time to inform folks, as well as some additional time to come in and clean it up if need be.
No, that's going to change.
No.
If you're going to change the ordinance in the meantime, I think that adds an additional confusion to it. Sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but if the 90 days is to clean up the ordinance, I think that's probably a poor way to handle it, because once it's passed, you create the expectation that it will be in effect in 90 days. Just to come back in and undo it during that normal appeal time, I think is a little bit confusing for the public.
Well, we can go through and change ordinances. It would be a brand new ordinance. It wouldn't be this one. But if there was some reason, or if it was something like putting up street signs that I don't think requires an ordinance, but I would feel more comfortable with 90 days. And if it needed to be an emergency clause, I think I'd support that.
Emergency clause makes it go into effect immediately. So
I'm sorry, waiving the third reading. Excuse me.
Suspend the rules.
If this substantially changes the ordinance and it would have to go back to first reading, I would be willing to support waiving the 3 additional readings for that section.
Suspending the rules.
Yeah, gotcha.
90 days. If you're gonna amend it to include an effective date, I'd recommend it actually including the date instead of 90 days to avoid any other confusion. April 7th is the date that I believe that would be 90 days, 91 days.
well, but
If it was passed today.
if it was passed today, yes.
And that I can amend my motion to represent April 7th.
Yes.
Is it?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to change the ordinance to the effective date of being April the 7th. Do I hear a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Alderman Lewis?
The one suggestion that I would make, Mr. Mayor, for Alderman Norris in this instance is I understand the intent and I think that it's well taken, but rather than bending himself into a pretzel with trying to look at this law and postponing the date of its effectiveness, I know that I made the motion to indefinitely postpone because obviously I'm not in favor of this, but my suggestion at this point, Mr. Mayor, would be to make that motion to postpone this ordinance for X number of meetings or until a certain date. I think that might be a cleaner way to do this rather than kind of the contortionist routine of trying to make this fit. But that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Lewis. Alderman Hogue?
We have a motion and a second on the floor. What I would like to do is let's just go ahead and vote on this ordinance, see if it passes. If it does pass and then it needs some more work, we certainly can amend an ordinance at a later date. But, I mean, you just cannot think of everything that could possibly go wrong. I'd like to see us vote on it and see if it passes or not. It may not even pass, and then all of this is for naught.
Okay. All right. We do have a motion and second. I do want to say one thing before we vote on it, and that's simply that our chief of police stood before you on 2 occasions and said he didn't think this was a good idea to pass this ordinance. I also don't think it's a good idea. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to put more golf carts on there. It may not. But if it does, I mean, then we could have issues. But that's, I just want to point out that our chief of police has recommended not passing this, and I agree with him based on his experience. There's no other discussion. Mr. Clark, roll call vote.
Alderman Mosley?
I'll vote yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
No.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Lewis?
No.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Norris?
I don't have a problem with the idea, but I just don't think that this is comprehensive, so I'm a no.
Alderman Hogue?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-3. Appreciate everybody that came out to speak on this matter, and we were happy to hear from you. Next item is the third reading of ordinance number 832 regarding zoning regulations. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 832, an ordinance amending the zoning regulations to establish a nursing home or convalescent home as a conditional use in a commercial zone in the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
This is the third reading. I need a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned second that the council adopt ordinance number 832 regarding zoning regulations. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Alderman Hogue?
Yes.
Alderman Norris?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Lewis?
Yes.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Mosley?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is the third reading of ordinance number 833 regarding zoning regulations. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 833, an ordinance amending the zoning regulations to establish health education facilities as a conditional use in a commercial zone in the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Ordinance 833.
Second.
It's been motioned and second that the council approve ordinance number 833 regarding zoning regulations.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Alderman Anderson?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Mosley?
Yes.
Alderman Lewis?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Norris?
Yes.
Alderman Hogue?
Yes.
Next item is the third reading of ordinance number 834 regarding fence construction. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
Being enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, ordinance number 8, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 834, an ordinance amending Section 14 of the Maumelle City Code concerning application of the subchapter to residential uses and for other purposes.
Alderman Hogue,
I had conversation with Mr.
Morley.
Morley this afternoon, and he suggested that we delay voting on this ordinance until next council meeting. He wanted to have a little more conversation with the city attorney and you, Mr. Mayor, and so I'm asking that we defer this until the 20th.
I second.
So it'll be the 21st.
21st, okay. I've got it the 20th on my calendar.
Right,
Got
but
to change that.
there's a holiday, yes.
I
yes.
realize that.
We've got a motion and a second to defer this until January the 21st. And I will point out that in the discussion that Mr. Morley had with Alderman Hogue today, they found that on there's an item in there that it just says must be a 6-foot fence. Well, that's not our intent. Our intent is it must not be a maximum of 6-foot fence, so it would not allow 4 foot. So that was discovered. So and then Alderman Hogue had some issues with some certain type fences, and so we're going to try to work through some of those. So we do think, I believe, and Mr. Morley believes, that we do need to delay this to at least get this one language changed in there. And what we may, when we come back, if it's a substantial change, we may be going back to even first reading on it also. So we just want to make sure that, but this was caught this during the discussion today, where it needs to be maximum of written in one place. So, Alderman Mosley.
Yeah, I wanted to hope that we got picket fences okay on this deal, and it sounds like that's part of the discussion. And whether they're 6 feet or shorter, that's fine with me, as long. But I think what we're working toward, though, is having a standardized fence where it shows to traffic, like the back of the house if it borders Odom or something like that. Is that what we're looking for?
Well, that's some of what Alderman Hogue is proposing on certain.
That's what we had done in the past, and on particularly North Odom, it's beginning to come together. Everybody that replaces their fence is doing that flat board fence, which looks a lot better. There are still some fences there that need to be changed. Some of them will be changed simply because they're not going to be serviceable, and when they do, we'd like to see them do the same type fence. In the newer parts of town, those fences are already up in most places, that flatboard fence along the roads. So that's what I'm.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're all on the same page.
If it's not facing the road, we're not looking to make any changes in the way your fences have been, is the way I understand that.
Okay. All right. Good.
Well, and we're still wanting to be able to allow wrought iron, brick, or picket fences if that's what somebody so chooses, on the front of their house or something like that. Now, you always got to remember they don't have to put up a fence. So you could have you could have a house along a street that has no fence in their backyard. There's no requirement of that.
There are some of those.
And there are some
along North Odom.
So I just want that pointed out. Just if you start saying, well, this is the only type of fence you can have there, they can always choose to have no fence.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no discussion, we do have a motion on the floor, motion and a second to defer the vote on this ordinance 834 until December, backing up a month, January the 21st. Mm-hmm. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is the second reading of ordinance number 836, City Attorney Job Description. Mr. Clark, if you'd read that by title only.
Being enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 836, an ordinance amending the job description for the city attorney position.
No actions required of this item, and it'll be on third reading at the next meeting. Moving on to new business. First item is resolution number 2014-01, amending the 2013 general fund budget. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2014-01, a resolution to amend the 2013 Maumelle general fund budget.
This is basically a bookkeeping procedure. All these funds we received from the Game and Fish to do the wetland trail. They awarded those funds at 50% of the amount, and then additional 30%, then additional 20%. This is a request for the final 20% of those funds, so that we can then use them to pay ourselves back. Basically, we had to do the work, and then we could then ask for those funds. And so we've reached that point to where the project is 100% complete. Now, it was completely underwater a couple of Saturdays ago, but it actually did not fare too bad during that episode. So it is a wetland trail, and it actually goes underwater every now and then. It's so close to the wetlands.
Make a motion we approve Resolution 2014-01.
Second.
It's been motioned second that the council approve resolution number 2014-01, amending the 2013 general fund budget. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is resolution number 2014-02, amending the 2013 street fund budget. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2014-02, a resolution to amend the 2013 street fund budget.
This is an item to cover the overtime that was spent by the public works and the street crews on the ice storm we had December 5th through 10th. And we had budgeted originally $10,000, and we need additional funds in order to cover that overtime.
I move we approve resolution 2014-02.
Second.
Been motioned second that the council approve resolution number 2014-02, amending the 2013 street fund budget. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is mayor's comments. Don't forget the statements of financial interest are due January 31st. We've already received some of those. We can notarize those here if you need us to, so we can do that. Just bring them by as you're bringing them in to turn them in, and you might want to call to make sure somebody's here. We got several people that can do that, but just to make sure they're in the office before you make a special trip out here. And another item I had is the next council meeting is a Tuesday, January the 21st. There's a holiday on that Monday, so just change your calendars appropriately that our next meeting will be January the 21st. At your desk tonight was a finalized copy of the budget. It's the same one you passed as far as the numbers. Letters have been added, and it's a bound document so that hopefully it's easier for you to use. And then the only other thing I had is don't forget we'll be collecting Christmas trees at Lake Willistine through January the 31st. Actually, Game and Fish is the one collecting them, but we're providing a site, and then they will be placed in Lake Willistine. We've got probably, I would guess, around 50, just looking at the pile that's there right now. So a substantial number. Just be mindful that you need to remove all the ornaments and tinsel and all that. We want an all-natural tree. So.
Is the city picking those up at residences, or are the people having to take them there?
The people are having to take them there.
Okay. I saw one in my neighborhood that's laying out front like they're expecting someone to come.
Well, we will pick them up with the regular yard waste.
Okay.
Yeah, they will be picked up with the yard waste.
Okay.
Yeah. Next item is Planning Commission report, and I had duty on that one. Basically, there was 2 items on the meeting that night, and they were all the same one, and it are related to the same project. The first was a variance regarding Maumelle City Code Section 70-140D2 in relation to a pipe stem lot. We have a cell tower out in the industrial park across from the Maumelle Middle School, and basically they have a small drive that goes back to the facility, and then it's a 100 by 100 site where the tower is actually located, and they wanted to plat that so that they could sell that. And so part of that process is it requires a pipe stem. And a pipe stem is exactly what it sounds like. It looks like a pipe within the bowl on the end. Basically, you know how the pipe stem runs back from the bowl. And the Planning Commission granted that variance, and then they approved the preliminary plat for the Horizon Tower Addition Lot 1, which is that same facility. So that's the only two items that were on the Planning Commission's agenda, and, you know, they had a 10-minute meeting or something like that. So they beat us usually on those. Any alderman's comments? Alderman Mosley?
Yeah, I'm still, I know it's not on the agenda tonight. I think next week we vote on the Special Improvement District. I wrote some comments to my constituents the other day, and I put a copy on everybody's workstation tonight and just ask you to take a look at them. I think there's some downside to the residents in Ward 1 for having such a thing here in Maumelle. And I asked the city attorney to just kind of check. I was going through some of the state code about that, and it almost looked to me like we could turn it down if we felt like it was a negative impact on traffic, which I think it would be, because we'd be adding more residences in an area where there's a bottleneck there at Counts Massey and Maumelle Boulevard. But anyway, the language that I was looking at, the city attorney said may not be interpreted the way I think it is, so we'll find out. We'll find out. She's going to take a look at it and get back with me, and I appreciate that. But I'd appreciate your careful consideration of this issue next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Alderman Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a curious question. Speaking of Maumelle Boulevard traffic, how do we stand on the synchronization of the lights?
Well, as I pointed out a few meetings ago, we've been awarded some money through Metro Plan. They've got to go through an engineering analysis before that can be done. They're in the process of selecting an engineer to do that currently. They hope to have that selection done in January, and then get that person started work in February. I still think it's a this year project. It's probably going to be October-ish, because I think that's when the funds will become available, because it's based on federal funds and all that. So,
well, that's I've always felt like that's really one of the ultimate solutions to the boulevard traffic, is to stop that accordion effect. So
it will help.
It will help.
It will help. I don't think it'll solve all the problems, but I think it will help tremendously, and it's a low cost solution too, as opposed to widening the roadway and things like that. Any other alderman's comments? Madam City Attorney?
Yes, to address Alderman Mosley's concern, one of the things I want to point out, I think the statute references that the improvements wouldn't harmonize with the community facilities plans of the municipality. And that, my two concerns are, first, we don't have a facilities plan for traffic, so saying that it doesn't harmonize can be quite a challenge since we don't have one. The second thing is that not approving the improvement district will not prevent. Well, you've already the construction's already been approved, so it won't have an impact on the traffic because those houses have already been approved. This doesn't approve or deny the construction. It's a financing vehicle, but I'll do some more research into that. I just wanted to let you know where I stood on it at this point.
Mr. City Clerk?
Yeah, I've got a sign-up sheet for the Planning Commission liaisons going around. Please sign up for a meeting or two before you get out of here this evening. Also, just a heads up, you'll see an ad coming pretty quickly here. In February, we'll be either appointing or reappointing at least 2 Planning Commission positions. So, I said at least 2. Maybe 3. That's what I meant by at least 2.
Is that few or a couple? Or, oh, no. Let's don't get into that. All right. If there's no other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Don't you do it.
Meeting is adjourned.
Don't do February?
No, I'm just
Oh, okay.
I can't do January, but February I could have done, but that's
Or-
all right. I do April.
Drop off financial interest.
I can do
Sure.
this.
Yeah, somebody will be here.
And I just drop it off.